What is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of the Oscars, the podcast that takes a look at the 2023 Oscars 24 minutes at a time. I am Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we are traveling from Mississippi to Vegas as we follow the life of an American music icon and his weird and pretty fucked up manager in Elvis.
The life of American music icon Elvis Presley, from his childhood to becoming a rock and movie star in the 1950s, while maintaining a complex relationship with his manager, Colonel Tom Parker. Of course, this episode is dedicated to Elvis. We will be talking about Elvis. We have a great conversation with two incredible guests from She Will Rock You Pod. We've got Bethanne Tarpley and Leah Jones from that podcast on here to talk about Elvis. But first, before we have that conversation, we have a couple things that we want to talk about. We've got a new trailer for a highly anticipated A24 movie. And I know we've switched over to the Oscars, but Ben, we're an A24 pod at heart here.
We are.
This is where our allegiance lies. We've got a brand new trailer for Beau Is Afraid, the new Ari Aster flick, and then we're going to give our Oscar power rankings. So I think we're going to change up the structure of the pod over the next 7 weeks here. We're going to be doing Oscar power rankings first. This is our last episode in which we are power ranking the Academy Awards on a guess. We don't have a nomination list yet. We're gonna have one. We're also going to have a same-day reaction pod and video when the nomination list does come out on January 24th. So be on the lookout for that. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and wherever you listen to us. We're very, very excited about that. But we're gonna power rank things first. We're gonna talk about Beau Is Afraid right now, though. You and I just rewatched this trailer to get in the right headspace for this conversation right now. Ben, I think this might be the greatest trailer that I've ever seen. And I'm not even kidding you.
Oh, man. Dude, it looks so good. Obviously, you know, if anyone's listened to this episode to any extent, you know my feelings on Joker. We actually get into that a bit with Leah and Bethanne. But the thing is, like, I'm a huge Joaquin Phoenix fan. And this looks like just amazing. He looks like he's bringing it again. Mm-hmm. We covered Come On on this podcast. A wonderful performance from Joaquin.
Big fan.
You know, the master. He's always bringing the heat. And this looks like no exception. What's crazy to me, like, I agree with you. This, having no idea what this was, like, you know, there's some paparazzi pictures of like Joaquin in his PJs in the street kind of thing. And then the name change from Disappointment Boulevard to Beau Is Afraid. I was like, what the fuck is happening here? Yep. And then we see the trailer and it's like, oh, okay. Holy cow. You know,
faith is restored.
Yeah. And I think I texted you after I watched it the first time. It's like, this is Ari Aster. This is the guy who started his feature film career with Hereditary, you know, and then followed that up with Midsommar. And it's like, you've set a precedence for yourself if those are your first two movies. Mm-hmm. And I text you and it's like, it's nuts. Like, I'm almost afraid of what we're not seeing in this trailer.
Right.
Because, you know, spoiler alert for those two movies, but like Toni Collette uses like a piano wire to saw her head off in Hereditary.
Oh, God.
One of the characters is like hung by his skin in a room in Midsommar. Like, there are so many interesting visuals, like, not to mention those old people that jump off, like the dude does, you know, there's so much stuff that happens.
So much.
But we don't see anything like that in this trailer. There's nothing that's hinting towards like the horror, whatever aspect of
the
it.
Visual horror. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. There's a line that Amy Ryan says, rip him apart. But that's like the only thing that kind of lends itself to thinking of like, so I'm just curious, like, what are we not seeing? Like, what are they hiding from us? Because like, I didn't see Hereditary because of the reviews that came out of like Sundance and stuff. I'm like, oh, this sounds fucked up. I made my girlfriend go see it first, then tell me what it was about. So I'm very curious to see what he's not showing us. Like, maybe he switches it up and this is just, you know, more of a straight horror, not so much of like in your face. But I mean, he's 2 for 2 on this stuff. I can't imagine he's going to go that drastically different on this third movie. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's had this script for a long time. This script leaked a long time ago. I have not looked at it. I know people that have looked at it and have read it, and I've heard it's quite insane, quite wild. You bring up Midsommar and Hereditary, 2 movies that are exceptionally defined by their final frames. I'll just say that. And that hold a lot of weight in their final 10 seconds of a movie. I am really curious if he is going to stay that path and do the same thing with this, because based on the trailer, it looks like The fight, it looks insane. We don't really know what's going on. It looks very Truman Show-esque. It looks very psychological thriller, like trying to figure out what's real. I mean, there's a line that Nathan Lane says where, he says, feels pretty unreal. And it's like, okay, this is a little too meta, like, for me right now. But I'm really curious if he's going to go that route again, because if the final 10 seconds of this movie take everything that we've seen and then flip it, I think A, it could be incredibly divisive, but I think B, it could be a masterpiece. I think it could be something that is like, the culture is like, Ari Aster did it. He made a modern day horror Truman Show. Like, I don't really know. This trailer has been viewed 4 million times on YouTube in 7 days. I've seen it 7 times. This was my 7th view. I forced my wife to watch it, and we had a conversation about it, and that I was very adamant of like, you brought up the point, like, is Ari Aster evolving his horror? I'm very curious to see if it goes in that direction here. I think the cast looks incredible, and I said that I think this is the best trailer I've ever seen because I still get chills when I watch it. I don't know what it's about, but I know enough to try to formulate what it's about. Mm-hmm. And Goodbye Stranger as the song is sublime. Like, it just works on all levels for me.
It really does. Going off the IMDb like genre topic here, Hereditary, Midsommar are listed as drama, horror, mystery. And I think that fits both of them. Beau Is Afraid is comedy, drama, mystery. So, I mean, if horror's not showing up in these first 3, like maybe he is really going as another route. Like, I know you and I both listened to The Big Picture, and I think when he was on for Midsommar, Ari Aster, Sean Fantasy was asking like, oh, what do you want to do next? And I think it was him that said he had like a buddy cop movie that he wanted to make, and it was just like, what? Like, you're the guy who made Hereditary, and you just, so like, maybe he is like just kind of getting into other stuff now. He made a name for himself with his first 2, and now he's like, I just want to do kind of a weird like horror, almost like maybe it's a satire again, like maybe this is Truman Show on acid. Like, I don't know what it's going to be, but I don't think Joaquin Phoenix signs up for things he doesn't want to do. Again, my feelings on Joker aside, like, he picks projects. He doesn't have to do anything, and so he picks good projects. But this cast, like, dude, I was blown away when I saw just that half a second of Parker Posey. I was like, fuck yes, man. Like, Parker Posey, I did not know she was in this. I'm stoked. Amy Ryan, Richard Kind, Nathan Lane, Patty LuPone's in it. Michael Gandolfini, I'm curious to see how he does in here too. So it's a great cast, and again, like, we've only had 1 trailer, so I'm ready to see it. And I think as a personal gift to me, Ari Aster decided to release this on my birthday. So thank you, Ari. I do appreciate it. I'm glad my messages were coming through. So
he probably scoured the internet and it was like, who's the most high profile A24 fan we could find? And what is their birthday? And we'll just drop it on their birthday.
Exactly.
For sure. There is possibility. I will say there's possibility that you and I could be doing a live pod of this. You live in Salt Lake. I live in Portland. We both watched this trailer, and I think we texted each other almost at the same time, or like very close timings, where it was like, hey, you want to fly to my city? And like, why? And like, why
exactly.
watch this movie with me? So there is that. There is just so much to intake in this trailer. I mean, it would take like a whole, like a YouTube breakdown video of this trailer to like figure it all out. Different editing and animation styles. I think it's incredible that you get a very horrific start of the mother basically saying like, I don't want you. I don't like you. Like, you have caused my life to be this. And then it cuts to Joaquin saying, I'm going to go visit my mother. I think that's horrifying. And I'm really interested to see what this movie does. If Ari Aster does branch out and is doing less horror, I'm really curious if we will have a kind of a Jordan Peele-esque situation on our hands, where Nope was not as deep and hard cutting as Us or Get Out was in terms of social commentary, and people thought it was kind of a step back for him. So I'm really curious if Ari has set up this and might be prone to something like that of a reaction if he does not elevate his horror even greater. So I'm very interested to see what happens. This movie looks incredible. My last thought is, we will get a second trailer. This movie comes out in 3 months. So A24 wants people to see it. They want to start the marketing campaign early. The thing about a second trailer, it makes me nervous that we are going to impede on things that maybe we shouldn't see. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want them to give up too much. I just want them to surprise us.
You know what I do want is, if we can resist it, I would love for us to do a live reaction watching that trailer together.
Oh, man. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. You heard it here first. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Our first trailer reaction.
Oh, yeah. Dude, okay. You got my heart pumping a little bit.
Ready.
That's going to be wild. That's going to be a good pod. All right. Whenever that comes out, it's probably going to come out sometime in February, late February, early March is probably my guess. Maybe 6 or 7 weeks before the movie. Really exciting stuff with Beau Is Afraid. April 28th, new A24 Ari Aster. We're going to see it.
Yeah.
Listeners, you're going to see it, and you're going to listen to our pod about it because it's probably going to change your life. Let's do our Oscar Power Rankings, Ben. We've done this every week so far. We are on week 3 right now of the Oscars. Still no nominee list, so we are kind of winging it as we go. But you and I have our Power Rankings list. You want to kick us off? Or you want me to start?
Yeah. No, I'm good.
All right.
Should we go over Clayton? Had he updated his at all for Variety?
Yeah, so I looked at Clayton's for Variety, and we do have a slight update. As of January 17th, so as of recording this pod right now, here are the 10 predicted Best Picture nominees from friend of the pod, senior awards editor over at Variety, Clayton Davis. He's still got Top Gun Maverick at 1, which I think is a very bold play after the Golden Globes, after the Critics' Choice Awards, which is part of our conversation with Bethanne and Leah. So stick around for that, obviously. The Fabelmans at number 2. Number 3 is The Banshees of Inisherin. Number 4, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Number 5, Tar. Number 6, Elvis. Number 7, Avatar: The Way of Water. Number 8, All Quiet on the Western Front. Number 9 is The Whale, which is a new addition, as well as number 10, Living, a new addition as well. Brendan Fraser did win a Critics' Choice, correct? Yep, for The Whale for Best Lead Performance. So we could be getting a little bit of steam there, but that's where Clayton has things.
Yeah.
Where do you have things, Ben?
I still haven't seen all of these, but based off of my feelings and what I'm seeing on Twitter, et cetera, this is what I've got. Number 1 and 2 are the same, Everything Everywhere, and then The Fabelmans, Everything Everywhere. I just want to win, and I really hope it does. And I think it's going to be hard to kick Spielberg off his perch, so to speak. So that's my 1 and 2. Given the last couple of weeks, I bumped up Banshees to number 3 from number 5. I realized last week I accidentally left off Elvis. I don't know how I did that.
I didn't catch that either.
Yeah, I was like, oh, man, I feel like I have an extra spot. I don't know what it is. So I'm putting Elvis at 4. It might be recency bias because we're covering that tonight. I just watched it again, but the Academy loves a biopic. I know it's up against Spielberg's biopic, but they love a musical figure. They love, all that kind of stuff. Avatar up from 6. I'm putting Top Gun down to number 4, or down to number 6 from number 4.
That's a drop.
Again, like even just what you said, like we're not really seeing it do much. Like it got cinematography, Critics' Choice, which is great, but I just don't know where it's going to fall in, what they want to reward. So Tar at 7, Triangle of Sadness at 9. Based solely off of Criterion, like, we're gonna put this out. I'm like, all right, cool, man. Criterion, I'll bump it up.
Dude, speaking of which, that cover goes fucking hard for the Criterion Collection Triangle of Sadness. Go check it out if you haven't.
So that's 100% what mine is based off of. Like, if Criterion's already picking it up, like,
it's a banger.
Legit. 9, Women Talking, and 10, After Sun.
I love that list. I respect that list, and I love that Triangle of Sadness is on there. I feel like Triangle of Sadness had a bump initially, and now it's just kind of like dwindling away, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I do think it is one of the best movies of the year, which is really strange. But again, I think the Academy is in a strange spot this year with so many sequels and blockbusters, and figuring out how that all works together, like within those puzzle pieces of the 10, will be really interesting. Like I said, we'll have a reaction pod day of for the nomination list next week, so I'm really fascinated. Oscar voting actually closed today on January 17th. So by the time this pod comes out, Oscar voting will be over and votes will be being counted, and we'll see how that all shakes. So I've got a slightly different list than last week. I've got Everything Everywhere All at Once at number 1. This didn't do super good at Golden Globes, did pretty solid at Critics' Choice, and I'm really thinking that we're going to get another big push, and I could just really see A24 getting behind this. They know what they have.
Yeah.
They know what they can do, and A24 knows how to campaign. They did it with Moonlight, and they won. And so if they can just figure out how to do that again, I think will be really key. I've got the Banshees of Inisherin at number 2. That's up from number 6. Again,
Nice.
we're getting a huge push on Banshees right now.
Yeah.
We're going to be covering Banshees, I would assume, next week if it is on the nomination list, which if Banshees is not on the nomination list, I think this pod stops. I think we boycott the Oscars. I think
I'm
we're
curious
done.
if like Everything Everywhere, Fablemans, or Elvis don't make it on. Like we shot our shot with these first 3, just guessing that they were getting nominated. So if somehow like Elvis doesn't make it, it's like, oh, we have another episode we got to do.
Bonus episode in the bag.
Yeah.
Oh, we might have jinxed something. I think if one of those 3 does not make this nomination list, I think that is an absolute shock. And I think that will be a huge, huge miss on the Academy's part. Number 4, I've got Elvis. That's down from number 3. Excuse me. Sorry. Number 3, I have The Fablemans. That's down from number 2. Number 4, I have Elvis. That's down from 3. I've got Tar at 5. Top Gun Maverick at 6. That's down from number 1.
That's a jump, dude.
That's a steep jump, but it's
or a fall, I guess.
Steep fall. It's just not looking like it's got the energy right now. We will see. I've got Avatar: The Way of Water at 7. Babylon at number 8. That's up from number 10. I firmly believe Babylon's making the Best Picture list. I think it's going, man. I think that is an Academy movie. They love extravagant movies about movies, and that is kind of what they do. I've got After Sun at number 9. I think that's going to be the play here. I'm really thinking that could kind of be that artsy, low-key movie that gets in. And then All Quiet on the Western Front, I have at number 10.
Nice.
Netflix is only really going to have 2 movies this year, which is absolutely shocking. All Quiet on the Western Front and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which seems like pretty much a lock for animated. So I'm curious. Yeah. I don't think they're going to have to push that much behind that in terms of a campaign. It looks like Guillermo del Toro is doing a lot of self-campaigning on Twitter pretty frequently. He loves to do that. So All Quiet on the Western Front will be the only other Netflix thing that needs to kind of be promoted. How are you feeling going into the Oscars? How are you feeling? By the time this pod comes out, we'll have 51 days, I believe, until Oscars power rankings. Feeling good about them?
The thing that surprised me that I probably would have made a difference in my rankings is if RRR had won non-English language at the Golden Globes. If that had gotten a win somewhere. I mean, it did win Best Foreign Language at the Critics' Choice, which also has more crossover with the Oscar voting body. But the fact that it's not going to fall into that, and it's got to make it for Best Picture. I think it's got an uphill battle there, but like I wouldn't be mad to see it there by any means. I think if it had also won the Globe, it would have been more of a lock. But it won Best Original Song at the Globes. Critics' Choice rewarded it, so. That's for me, that'd probably be like in my 11 spot. It's just like, I think there's a big, fan base around RRR. I'm curious if they'll get it in there or not. So I'm really excited to see what this list ends up being.
Yeah. I think the Academy made a big play. Obviously Parasite won in 2019. That was the big one. That was a really, really, really big deal. They again made a big play in 2021 with Drive My Car being nominated for a Best Picture. I personally don't think the Academy is there yet to nominate 2 foreign language films in the 10 for Best Picture. So I think it's one or the other. I think RRR's got the power right now. I think it has hand in this situation, and it has a very devoted fan base. And I'm really curious what that kind of holdover is with the Academy. Do they feel the same way that the general public does and the general audience does? We will see. I did want to bring up really quickly before we get to our Elvis conversation and our other fun things that we're talking about on the pod. We really have a 3-way race for Best Actor here, and Austin Butler is one of those actors. We've got Brendan Fraser, Colin Farrell, and Austin Butler. How do you see this playing out right now? Because we're still like 6 weeks or 7 weeks out from the Oscars. Someone's gonna have to start picking up some steam somewhere and start campaigning somehow. Does Austin Butler campaign as Elvis? Does that win people over? How do we do this? I'm curious what you're feeling.
I do think Brendan's still the number one, both for his performance, but also for his story. I think he kind of
Yeah.
falls to the Ke Huy Quan thing there, where it's just like, man, he was just like, you know, turned away by the business as a whole almost for like 20 years. And so seeing this as a comeback story, obviously the Oscars, you know, they like to reward themselves, like, hey, see, we did a cool thing. But that's not to say that he doesn't deserve, he gives a really strong performance in not necessarily a really strong movie,
Yeah.
but he's the rock of that for sure. So he's still probably in my lead. I'm obviously biased having just watched Elvis. Like, I think Austin Butler does great. I don't know, but also Colin Farrell gives a fun acceptance speech, and that kind of goes into it too, like Clayton said. So that's probably how it goes for me, is Brendan, Austin, Colin.
Okay.
But I know.
Interesting, because I feel like I am in a different boat. I think Elvis, I think so far, Austin Butler, the fascination that the culture, especially the film culture, has with Austin Butler is really hard to mirror or mimic in another actor. And I think that they're going to get a really good bump going into Oscar season, going into SAG, going into BAFTA and things like this. I think it's going to be really easy for them, and specifically for Austin Butler, to kind of rise to the top. I've got Austin Butler in like my number one slot for that.
Nice.
I think Brendan Fraser comes in second because of the story, and I think that plays a lot into that role, and people want to see him win. Does the Academy feel the same way that Twitter feels, obviously, you know, about a comeback story like that, especially from someone that is actively boycotting the HFPA based on, you know, sexual assault allegations that have happened in the past against Brendan. So I'm really, really interested to see how the Academy kind of walks that tightrope. And then I have Colin Farrell at third. I think Banshees has a really strong, almost a lock for original screenplay. I think Martin McDonagh has a good shot at Best Director. And with the Critics' Choice, it is now like firmly in the contest, in the conversation for Best Picture. I just don't think Colin Farrell is there, even though we have another story. It's his time, right? He made 4 movies this year. He was in 4 different movies, and he has never won an Academy Award. And it feels like now would be the time to kind of make that happen. We know the Academy loves their makeup awards. We know that they love to pat themselves on the back. So I'm really, really interested to see kind of how this all shakes out. I think if Austin Butler just campaigns and gives any acceptance speech like as Elvis, like he did at Critics' Choice, I think we're in a good boat. I think he's going to do it. So
I think either way, we're getting a new Oscar winner, a first-time Oscar winner for best lead performance. I think. Yeah,
I think you're totally right. I'm really excited to get the nomination list next week on January 24th. I'm really excited that we're gonna do a same day reaction to that. That's gonna be really, really fun, and I think the race shakes up from there. Obviously, once we have our 10 locked, I think we're gonna get some really fun conversations starting to happen. We have a lot of really fun guests planned for. Specifically for the next episode and the couple episodes after that. We've got some fun people from some awesome Oscars websites. We've got some really cool little letterboxed action maybe going on. We got some really fun people coming to the pod. So that's going to be a blast. Anything you want to say about Beau Is Afraid? Anything you want to say about Oscar Power Rankings before we dive into our conversation about Elvis with Bethanne and Leah?
Just Ari Aster. I'm ready for it. Give it to me.
You can do it, brother. We can come on, Ari Aster. Don't let us down. That's all I've got to say.
Do this.
That scene where Joaquin looks up and it looks like he's Truman showing, like he's looking out, and like there's a bunch of
almost like
right. It looks like a stadium. There's a bunch of pipes, a bunch of wirings, and like, do you want to know the truth? And he's like, yes, I want to know. I just like, what the fuck is going on? I just need to know. It's gonna be great. I just need to know. It's gonna be great. All right, here's our conversation with Bethanne and Leah of She Will Rock You Pod. We talk about Elvis, break down the movie, talk about the Critics' Choice Awards, the Golden Globes, lots of really, really exciting stuff. Enjoy our conversation with Bethanne and Leah. So we're in week 3 of the Oscars. Ben, we've made it. Very exciting. And this is our last podcast that we will do in which we try to guess the Best Picture nominees. We're finally going to have an official list out next week, and we're gonna have a little fun with a bonus episode next week as well. We're gonna do like a live reaction to the live, quote unquote live, very quick afterwards reaction to the Oscar Best Picture nominees, which will be really exciting. So keep your eyes out for that. If you're watching on YouTube, you can already see. If you're listening, you don't know yet, but we have two lovely guests on the podcast tonight joining us to talk Elvis. Two incredible podcasters, music enthusiasts from She Will Rock You Pod. We've got Bethanne Tarpley and Leah Jones. How are you all doing tonight?
Great. Thanks for having us.
I'm so excited to talk about this.
She's been oozing to want to talk about this for 6 months.
Literally since the day came out.
Yeah, so she's ready.
I mean, honestly, when I knew we were covering this, I was like, we have to get Leah on because I still distinctly remember you tweeting about this. It's like, this is just how good Elvis was. There's before Elvis and after Elvis kind of thing.
It kind of is, yeah.
And I took it with a grain of salt. I was like, all right, I mean, it's probably okay. But then I saw it and I was like, oh, she wasn't kidding. This is
hardcore.
This is awesome. So I'm very excited for us to get into it. This is very much going to be a Baz episode. We got Baz Luhrmann of Romeo and Juliet, my shirt right here.
Nice.
So
Shout
boss.
out Baz.
You're coming in two weeks in a row with the hard fashion, Ben. I really appreciate
Got to do it. Yeah, it's the only
nice.
thing I contribute to this pod is my shirts. So
I do have I have a Godfather tee, but it's not on brand for this episode.
Not quite. Marlon Brando in Romeo and Juliet. Yeah, I mean, Baz also did Australia, Moulin Rouge, Great Gatsby, and here he is directing Elvis. Of course, Austin Butler stars as Elvis himself, and in an absolute front runner for the Best Actor category, which we'll talk about in a bit. And we have America's Dad, Tom Hanks, back in action. This is what he was shooting when he got COVID. When we knew it could get anybody. If Tom Hanks got it, anybody could get it. And here he is. For better or worse, prosthetics and accent and all, Tom Hanks is here. But I'm excited to hear everybody's take on that. But before we get into Elvis, there's some pretty significant awards shows that happened over the past couple of weeks that go hand in hand with the Academy Awards. We had the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice Awards, just two of the biggest awards. So I think we should kind of go over that and see if they shook up the Oscars race at all.
Yeah, for sure. Normally we start this pod asking our guests about the Oscars. But since we are covering the Oscars, we have some implicating awards races to cover. So I'm curious, as we kind of go through this as a group, to see what you guys think of kind of the lead up to the Oscars, because obviously we have 51 days until the Oscars when this pod releases. So we're getting closer, and things are starting to have definitely more of a weight. First, I want to talk about the Golden Globes. This was back on air this year after not being on air in 2021 and then having a Zoom kind of airing in 2020. The HFPA, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, really not great. Just not great. Let's just put it that way.
Very panic.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was a very nice way to put that. If they ever want me to host, I can't, I can't have this in my backlog. I gotta prep for the future, Basically, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, it came out last year that they had 0 black members of their 87 members that voted, which not great for a voting body like that. But this year it was back on NBC. It was on a Tuesday night, which I think obviously is hey, we'll slot you in where we can kind of an airing. And it drew 6 million viewers, the lowest that they have ever had, obviously. I enjoyed it as an award show, less as a TV show. I liked a lot of the speeches. We're not going to go too in-depth, but I do want to just talk about a couple things that won, a couple things that were nominated. Best Drama went to The Fabelmans. Best Musical Comedy went to The Banshees of Inisherin. Austin Butler won Best Actor Drama for Elvis, which I think obviously is worth noting in this episode.
Yeah.
Cate Blanchett won Best Actress for Drama for Tar. Let's fucking go. Best Actress in a Musical Comedy was Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere All at Once. So that 2-horse race we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we talked about Everything Everywhere All at Once is still very much alive, even in the Golden Globes. Ke-Huy Quan won Best Supporting Actor. Seems like he's got that pretty much locked up. We talked about that as well. And I just want to call it Best Original Score, Babylon. Fucking Babylon. We did it. We won. Cinema triumphs all. Very exciting.
Home.
Bethanne, let's start with you. Did you watch the Golden Globes? Do you care? Do you think it has any implication on the Oscars? How did you feel about the show?
Well, I didn't watch it this year. I just kind of read the article ahead of time. Because I'm also in the same boat with you. I'm very like selective of the award shows I watch.
Mhm.
It's just like, it's just it gets to a point anyway. I can go digress
There-
about that. But
There's a lot. Yeah.
reading over the choices, I mean, I think, some spots were definitely awarded correctly. I think Austin Butler is the correct choice. So far, what I've watched from Kate Blanchett and Tar, it
I
definitely.
can't believe you're splitting Tar up into 2 viewing sessions. That's like a dagger in my heart.
Three.
Oh, 3.
You cut
Oh
me
my
off
God.
on this
Jail.
podcast. I chose you guys over Kate Blanchett, and that's a
Wow.
hard sacrifice.
Wow,
may I just
that's-
say.
I feel
But
so
I
We need to
honored.
pull that as a review for the pod. Like, I would choose you guys over Kate
Over Kate
Blanchett.
Blanchett.
Like, what more
That-
do we need? That's it.
It's perfectly
That's
coded
so-
exactly every
That's
word
exactly
I said.
word for word.
Exactly. But I'm kind of torn because I totally understand Banshee of Sheeran winning comedy and musical, but it's just like when you see a movie like Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's just like it changes the game. Whereas
Yeah.
I think Banshee of Inisherin, while I loved it, it reads really well as a playwright, as a theater. Like it feels like a theater piece.
Mhm.
And for me, it's just not as groundbreaking as like Everything Everywhere All at Once. For me, is the perfect package. Acting tremendous throughout the whole entire thing. Cinematography amazing. Like script, the whole way it's orchestrated. I think so. I mean, like you were saying, I'm not gonna say the Hollywood Foreign Press and its lack of diversity. I'm not gonna make that implication.
Pretty
But,
glaring,
yeah.
though. Let's just say
But
pretty glaring still.
sometimes you choose Ireland over, one of the very few Asian casts that we get and that crosses
Mhm.
over, But you could do that with that what you will. But yeah, those are kind of my first thoughts over it. I think there's just a lot of good contenders this year.
Yeah, that's fair. I do want to call out, I think it's interesting they started the show with the Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress, which is not abnormal at all, but it did go to Ke-Huy Quan and Angela Bassett, obviously two minorities and people of color, and very high probability that was orchestrated to say like, hey, we care about Black Panther and like other films, and then they continued to let a bunch of white people win. So there was that. Leah, what did you think of the Globes? Did you watch? What do you think it has for the Oscars here?
I did not watch. I have not seen enough of these films to have an opinion, but Austin Butler deserves the world.
Hell yeah.
I love sweet and delicious and the perfect. That was just great.
Sometimes
I love
that's all
that.
you need.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, obviously I want Everything Everywhere to win everything. But
Everywhere.
I want to win everything everywhere. I'm curious though if they had like put Elvis in musical or comedy, if it would have won over Banshees. Like I know they put it in drama, which like I get, but I feel like I don't know, rides that line of being a musical. Maybe it could have qualified for that, but that's like when they put like The Martian in musical or comedy. It's like that. What are you doing? You guys?
What are we doing?
Like this
It's
is
such
not
a dumb grouping of two genres that aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense at all. So I don't know. I mean, Fableman's, kind of made sense. This for me, the Globes was the most interesting aspect in the Best Actor race because of the history with Brendan Fraser and how they treated him and him saying, I'm not going to be there. And then the other two frontrunners winning the other two awards. You have Colin Farrell and Austin Butler winning. So now it's just like, cool. That's doesn't really clear anything up as far as the Oscars go. So I'm curious to see how it all plays out. Non-English language, that was the biggest surprise. Like Argentina,
Absolutely.
1985, which like I had never even heard of before that night. Like I watched it, I never even heard it. I just thought RRR was taking it. You know what I mean? Like just the buzz around it. But yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting night for sure. I think Gerard Carmichael, I liked his beginning. I liked him kind of like going in on everyone. But some of his jokes didn't land with everybody, but I did like his the little Scientology joke with Tom Cruise's return to Globes was kind of funny. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, I think that definitely was the most shocking for me was international. I mean, personally, I know RR is having a moment, but I think out of what was available between Decision to Leave, Close, All Quiet on the Western Front, and then Argentina 1985, the winner, I think Decision to Leave is kind of the obvious choice there, at least for me. And I am surprised too. I know the campaigning hasn't really begun, but I do think this is kind of a hindrance to All Quiet on the Western Front in terms of Netflix. They're really looking at only having 2 movies this year in the Oscars, and that's All Quiet on the Western Front and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I just don't see them having really a good shot at Glass Onion. We'll go over our power rankings here in a little bit, but I do think it's interesting. I went 9 for 14 on my guesses, and that's only because I really wanted Dolly De Leon to win for Triangle of Sadness, and I went out on a limb. I would have hit double digits if I just would have went with my brain. But sometimes you got to go with your heart. So I felt pretty good about it. I think it's interesting. I don't think it means a lot in terms of the Oscars, and especially because the voting body is not really the same. There's basically no overlap with the Academy. So it is definitely kind of its own niche little product and little award show there.
We are crossing pods here, but I just want to say I appreciate you treating your Golden Globes guesses like you do the movie drafts on 3 films, where it's like, I'm not going to win, but I'm just going to vote with my heart. It's like, hey, man, whatever you need to do, as long as you know you're not going to win. So I appreciate the consistency. So there you go.
I'm here for a good time. I'm not here for a winning time. I'm here for a good time. Any draft that I participate in where I can pick up the Before trilogy, I will never not do that. And
that's fair.
You know
enough.
what? So be it. To my detriment.
And you've seen all 3 of them,
what are you gonna
which
do?
I'm proud of. Yeah.
Yeah, of course I have, because it's fucking cinema, dude. Okay. the other award show that we got is the Critics' Choice Awards. Now this, I personally feel like it has more implications for the Oscars. We definitely have more overlapping in the voting body than the Golden Globes does. And I think that if there were more Oscar race kind of shakeups here, I'll go over just a couple of the big wins here. Best Picture was Everything Everywhere All at Once, which again is pretty prominent in the campaign that this is, having, and the steam that it's picking up and continuing to hold on to. Best Actor was Brendan Fraser in The Whale, possibly picking up steam. Possibly going to be this 3-horse race. We're going to talk about it here in a little bit. Best Actress was Cate Blanchett in Tar. Best Supporting Actor, Ke-Huy Quan. And Best Supporting Actress was Angela Bassett for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And then, of course, I got to say, Best Production Design was Babylon. We did it.
Dude,
we fucking
I got to sublet and make these outlines, man.
Let's go. Babylon did it. I am curious. Angela Bassett winning this and a Golden Globe. Are we looking at, is this the Best Supporting Actress? Is this going to be the Academy Award winner here? Because out of all 4 acting categories, this is probably the lightest and probably has the most up in the air when you talk about having someone locked in or like being a front runner. Leah, are you pulling for Angela Bassett the same way you're pulling for Austin Butler here?
Yes.
I love it.
I haven't seen Wakanda Forever either.
You don't need to. You don't need to.
have to throw that part in there.
You just gotta own it.
Just know that where that answer comes from. But I have seen
That's all you
her in other things and other installments of Marvel, and I do think that she deserves.
Yeah, she gave a really good performance in that movie. I think there's plenty of issues with that movie, but I don't think any of them are Angela Bassett. Like, she's fantastic in it. I am like surprised though, like how much she's winning. Not again that she's not deserving, but it's just like traditionally these award shows don't care about the Marvel movies at all. And she's up, sometimes against like Michelle Williams for Fabelmans or whatever. And I was like, Angela Bassett would be cool. I'm glad she's getting nominated, but I don't think anything is going to happen. But seeing her win all this stuff, it's like, man, maybe she will. And that's rad. Like, I think that's great. And then again, like just Ke-Huy Quan, just seeing him just, steamroll all these awards. I'm so happy. Like I could just watch him give acceptance speeches for like 6 hours straight. Like, just let him talk forever, man. Like, I love hearing him talk. So yeah, stoked on that.
He's great. Bethanne, what do you think? We shaking up the Oscars with these Critics' Choice Awards wins here?
So back in the day when I used to host Oscar parties at my house, we used to keep track of a spreadsheet, me and my husband Josh, because we used to run a movie website for a little bit. And literally, it was just like, it didn't matter what work you put in. They didn't give a fuck. Literally. So part of me is just like, I want to be like, yeah, maybe we're seeing some trends. Like the Angela Bassett's definitely a trend. Cate Blanchett is definitely a trend. But it's always I always feel like when it comes to the Oscars, you're always going to run into issues with the screenplays,
Mhm.
cinematography, and best picture. Like sometimes you can predict it, sometimes you can't. If you know like someone's going to win adapted, they're going to have a really good spot for best picture, but you just never know.
Yeah.
I think overall though, I think the Critics' Choice Awards is probably a little bit more in touch with
Mm.
its winners in the I don't know. I maybe it's just because I like the winners more in Critics' Choice Awards and Golden Globes. I'm probably reading too much into it, but personally, I agree more with the Critics' Choice Awards. We'll say that.
Nice.
Yeah, worth noting that best hair and makeup did go to Elvis, which is an important below the line aspect here for Elvis, that it looks like it has a pretty good shot at winning. In terms of best actress awards race, we've got Angela Bassett that's looking like the front runner. Of course, Carrie Condon from Banshees of Inisherin. It's looking like Jamie Lee Curtis will be the nominee for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Could it be Stephanie Hsu? I don't know how they're gonna.
I think it should be though.
It should
Like,
be.
I agree. I do think it should be,
Yeah.
but if you put up 2 for a split vote, you lose. There's just like no. It's like you got to go one or none. Is kind of, I feel like, how that plays out. Michelle Williams, and then you get into some interesting territory for a fifth. You could have Dolly De Leon from Triangle of Sadness. Carey Mulligan from She Said. Women Talking is losing a lot of steam because, frankly, nobody's seen it because it's had such a weird release schedule. So Jessie Buckley or Frances McDormand in that, and it's a big toss-up. So I'm really curious. It looks like Angela Bassett is picking up steam for sure. Top Gun Maverick won cinematography, which I think is interesting and worth of note as well. Maybe it shouldn't have, but Top Gun Maverick. It's on the Oscars path, and we will see if it continues to trend in that direction. Okay, let's talk about Elvis, people. Let's talk about Elvis. We're gonna go through and give our general thoughts, review, talk about some aspects of the movie. We'll go true cinema, and then we'll do a little Oscars power rankings, little Oscars talk after that. Generally, like I said, I like to ask our guests about the Oscars, if they watch them, if they care. Bethanne, are you hosting another Oscars party this year? Because if so, I'd like to be there.
Oh, you are invited.
Oh, excellent.
You are definitely invited.
I will fly
so
in
you,
specifically for
Nice.
that.
And Leah. Yes. I think we're definitely gonna watch them this year. Leah, you're free to come over. You're 2 miles from my house. Bring a cat,
I don't think your dogs
but-
are like that. But.
No, Mia would be very confused. But yeah, I think the Oscars is kind of the race that I pay attention to the most, even though Oscars, they also kind of, I feel like, fall in step with the Hollywood Foreign Press sometimes. But yeah, no, I'm excited for the Oscars, especially because I think we've had this year some of our more diversified movies as far as for like nothing really feels the same. Like I think about the year that Phantom Thread came out. It was like everyone was trying to hit that certain collegiate high level, film. And honestly, that's what I love about A24 is they're kind of breaking that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're kind of just like, I think audiences realize like they don't want to be talked to. You know how you go into a movie, it's like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm just being talked to about this subject. I'm actually not involved and encased in the storyline. And I think A24 is on their game when it comes to that. They know how to choose scripts, they know how to choose directors, and they know how to choose the actors to portray it. And
Don't tell me about the butt plug fight. Just put me in the butt plug fight. That's what
Exactly.
we want
In the
as an
middle.
audience. Don't explain it to me. Just show it to me.
Yeah. Just do it. So anyway, so that's why, I think it's a strong Oscars year compared to other years we've had in the past. And I'm really excited to see how it's going to play out.
Yeah. What about you, Leah?
Interesting that you brought up Phantom Thread because I think that was the last year I actually tried to watch all the movies.
Nice.
And I
we
was
went
like,
to that together.
we went to that together. We looked at each other and we were like, what the fuck was that movie? And then
Phantom
I
Thread
was like,
fucks, bro. That's a great movie.
I think about that movie way more than I need to be thinking about that movie. Every time I see a mushroom now, I'm like, remember that time in Phantom Thread? So that was like the last year I tried to watch all the Oscar films in one. Because in college, we would always watch them all and have a big party. And after that year, I was like, these movies are just getting dumb. And not dumb in like a good way, but dumb in like a I don't want to watch these way.
Yeah.
But I feel like this year it's less serious. I mean, if Avatar Way of Water has a shot at being nominated, like I can watch some of those movies. We can get back into it.
Fair.
So once the official list is out, I will try to watch as many as possible. I'm not doing extra homework.
No need.
No
I think like
bonus.
the voting body changing is helping with like some of these movies changing as well, which is really good. I'm curious, since you two people who run like a music specific podcast, like, do you guys do the same with the Grammys? Do you care as much about it? Is it as weird of a voting body? Because like the last thing I remember watching
great
was
question.
was Adele winning over Beyonce, and even her being like, I
This
shouldn't
is
be up
wrong.
here. Like, what are you guys
Yeah.
doing? You know? And I was like, oh yeah, do the voting body not listen to Beyonce? Or like, not that Adele's not great and deserving, but it's just like, come on, you guys. Like,
We very outspoken on our podcast. So you know how I've talked pretty bad about the Hollywood Foreign Press? We'll go ahead and lower that.
Yeah, we shit on the Oscars like anytime. Not the Oscars.
Yes,
the
Grammys.
Grammys. Anytime that we
Like-
can.
nice.
It's worse than the Oscars have ever been.
It
as
really
far
Oh, I
is.
as,
bet. Yeah.
Interesting.
Politics.
Didn't like
and
Macklemore win over
biases.
Kendrick for best rap album or something like that one
Yeah,
year? Like it's yeah.
Whoa.
If you want to talk about out of touch and out of tune, if you will, out of tune.
Hey, there it is.
Whoa. Good one.
A.
Finger guns. Pew, pew, pew.
And then when they try to do something different and quote progressive, like last year when John Batiste won Best Album,
Mhm.
people flipped their lid. They're like, "I've never heard of him, so he must not be good."
Mm.
Oh.
I'm like, that's not how it works.
Oh, that's a slapper of an album.
That is-
Everyone should listen to that album.
That's so fascinating that you bring that up, Leah, because I think the Oscars are very much, at least I believe the Oscars are very much in the same boat this year. They're going to have Top Gun Maverick, a movie almost everybody on the planet has seen or knows of in some way, shape, or form. They've got Avatar: The Way of Water now. Just a couple of hours ago, the 6th highest grossing movie of all time. It's past $1.9 billion. They're going to have...
Understand.
They're gonna. I don't get it.
Don't
They're
get
gonna
it.
have the big movies that people have heard of. So I'm very interested to see. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have Tar, obviously, which is a very artsy, very high level, way too heady for the Academy to make it win Best Picture, but it will be nominated, I would assume. I think it's interesting too. Last year, this time, Coda, specifically like Troy Kotsur, did not win a Golden Globe, did not win a Critics' Choice Award, did not win anything really until SAG, and then got a massive boost for the Oscars. And same thing with Coda. It kind of just like came out of nowhere 5 weeks ahead of time. So I'm really interested to see if that happens with something during this race. It's looking like The Whale could be fulfilling that, especially with Brendan Fraser going for Best Actor. Depends, again, what A24 wants to throw their weight and their money behind. They have a lot of things. And I don't think they've ever been put in this position before of trying to figure out everything that they want to send into the Oscars. So we will see how that shakes out. Okay, Leah, you've been waiting to talk about Elvis for a very long time, and I kept you waiting 25 additional minutes. So I feel really terrible about that. But
I waited 6 months. I can wait 30 more minutes.
give me your thoughts on Elvis. Give me what you thought of the movie.
It sounds dumb to say I love this movie, but I love this movie. Like, it was literally all I thought about for a good 2 weeks after seeing it for the first time. I went opening night. It was me and my mom and like a bunch of 60-year-old women who were very thirsty over Austin Butler, let me just say.
Hell yeah.
Oh, as I would be for sure.
I love Baz Luhrmann anyway, but to me this is his magnum opus. Like, he was meant to make this movie and he was meant to tell Elvis's story. Austin Butler, I keep joking that he was possessed by the spirit of Elvis in this movie. He still talks like Elvis to this day.
Yeah.
I was
It is
gonna
3
say,
years later.
let's talk about his Golden Globes speech because it was Elvis. That's it. He got up there and he was Elvis. And I think if he campaigns as Elvis, I don't see him losing, honestly.
He's living the film career that Elvis wished he had.
Mhm.
Whoa.
Mm.
That was
Mm.
good.
a great
He is
call.
reincarnated to live his film life through Austin Butler.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
almost feels like an Andy Kaufman moment with Jim
Yeah.
Carrey.
Jim Carrey.
I get those vibes a lot.
Yeah, he really
Yeah.
channeled him for sure.
It's
Big time.
unreal. And like, I mean, everything down to the transition and costume and the music choice. Like, every time I was back in the day very much obsessed with the Moulin Rouge soundtrack. and thought that nothing could top that in Beau's world. But this is,
Here we
I
are.
have not
We've
stopped
done
listening to the soundtrack. It is such a cool blend of old and new and covers, and I could ramble forever about this movie.
So good. What did you think, Bethanne? What did you think of Elvis?
I really like it. I think it's a really well done film. I think they thought through very intentionally about the scripting of it and the timeline of it. I think, rest in peace, a legend, but Elvis Marie Presley, Marie Presley. Hold on.
Lisa
Yeah,
Marie Presley?
Lisa Marie.
Lisa Marie. I was like, something's not right.
Yeah.
Lisa Marie Presley said, like, Austin, like, this is the movie that she wanted for her dad. And Austin was it. It was just a complete, like Leah was saying, he channeled him to a T. And so I think overall, I think it was a really well done film. It's a very polished film. And I think you don't find those as much, but I think Baz has kind of mastered that aesthetic, so to speak. Like if you think about Great Gatsby, things like he adds a nice sheen to everything. And so I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I have some thoughts, like as far as for like not necessarily critiques. There was a couple things that threw me off a little bit, but I'm sure we can talk about that later.
Yeah. You bring up Lisa Marie Presley. I just want to say she did pass away last week. She was 54. It looks like they're going to be doing a kind of a public service at Graceland, which is absolutely just a travesty and tragic, considering everything about Elvis in general, but also going on with the film and the movie and the crew and the family and everything like that. So yeah, rest in peace, Lisa Marie Presley. Ben, we haven't talked about Elvis yet. I do want you to tell about your experience watching Elvis, because I think that's worth noting. But what did you think?
I mean, to repeat Leah, like I just love this movie. Like I don't know what else to say. Like I think it's fantastic. I saw it once before, just this most recent rewatch. And yeah, even just hearing, when it got announced that Baz was gonna be doing an Elvis movie, it's just like, fuck yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He's gonna do this, and he's gonna crush it. It's like this is the perfect person for him to cover. And I think he pulled it off 100%. Like I love it. Obviously, there's definitely critiques and stuff, but there's just like some amazing moments in here. Leah, you mentioned like transitions. There's one, we're about halfway through, but like where he's like kneeling down with his arms out. We get like the different outfits. Like you can see that he's like doing that whole montage.
So sick.
I love that. It reminded me of have you guys seen Beyonce's Homecoming, like that performance at Coachella?
Yeah.
But there's that shot where it like switches from the pink outfits to the yellow outfits,
Yes.
and it's fucking flawless.
I love that shot.
It is.
I actually showed it to Leah. I was like, Leah, you have to watch this one shot where they just switch.
Yeah,
during,
it's crazy.
club.
Yeah, my girlfriend had watched it before, and then she watched it with me, and like I do video production stuff. So like when that happened, like I think she just knew that's exactly what I was like, and I reacted exactly the same. I was like, holy fuck, like they pulled that off. Like I understand how it's all done, but it's still amazing. It was so cool. But I liked like the raw aspect of it in Elvis, like just seeing all the different outfits, all that kind of stuff. So Austin was amazing. I think it's hard to kind of, I mean, he's covering 25 years of his life, 20 years of his life from the 50s to the 70s. He does a wonderful job. I talked about it after seeing it. So I guess, yeah, the story for how I saw it is I happened to be in Vegas this past weekend visiting my dad's, and we stayed at a hotel, and this room had like a projector that dropped down, and the only windows that it didn't cover were pink. So just like the room had kind of like a pink hue, and we're watching on this big ass projector, and we just watched Elvis, and it was awesome.
Okay.
Like it was like the perfect experience to watch this movie. So
it's the way Baz Luhrmann intended.
I was just gonna say that, Leah. I was like, is that the way Baz would have intended it? And it sounds like it is, honestly. You gotta tweet at Baz, dude, and be like, look, Baz, I did you proud. I watched it in Vegas.
If you need a +1 for the Oscars, let me know.
Let me know. I'll be there.
Yeah. Bethanne still here?
She just texted me her laptop randomly shut down. Trying to come back.
Okay.
No, Bethanne.
Well, I'll just keep going with my thoughts for a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, you can keep going.
Yeah, I thought it was wonderful. I think Austin did a great job. I don't have any like previous experience with Austin Butler outside of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Well, he's kind of a Disney actor that like got stuck in the Disney bubble and didn't get a lot of opportunity. until this
Okay.
movie. He was in Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure. Okay,
Wow,
that's like
nice.
Oh, okay.
The
I
first
retract it.
movie he
Oh,
was
now
in.
we-
I've seen
now we
that.
know-
Yeah,
now
that's
we
where I
know.
recognize
like
him from.
that's
I
the
was
level
wondering.
of content he was making. For this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you did a wonderful job. Baz did great, and we can talk about it now or whatever after your comments, Ethan. But we have to address Tom Hanks. Like we have to talk
we will.
about him.
We
'cause
will fucking address Tom
it
Hanks.
was,
Don't you worry.
Rough. It was rough.
Yeah, I'll give some quick thoughts real quick before we do Tom Hanks. I think this is definitely Baz just like going full send, just like doing his most, which I admire and I respect, and I think it's awesome. Elvis is definitely the right property to do that with. I did watch this with my wife Molly, and I was like, okay, we'll like split it up into two or whatever, because it's a lot. Like honestly, so like Molly doesn't watch movies, and I had made a comment to her about halfway through, and I was like, I feel like this is like a lot of editing to throw at like just an average moviegoer who doesn't know, who's not like in the conversation of like, hey, Baz Luhrmann directed this, and just so you know, this is Baz's style. Like I feel like it's just really intense in that aspect, but it's also really entrancing, right? It's very kind of this like elusive feeling of like, wow, that was really cool. Like I kind of want to be involved in that world a lot. Obviously, Austin Butler is unreal in this film. There were so many times I saw it in the theater initially, saw it again at home. There were so many times when I rewatched it where I was just like, this is like literally I just had no words. I was just like, this is Elvis. Like this is uncanny.
Mhm.
His ability to be this person and to really like take it to those levels. We'll do true cinema and talk about it, but at the end of the movie when he fires the Colonel, he is unhinged, and he is like, not once for a moment did he lose the accent, did he lose the body maneuvers, did he lose any of that. And that's something you generally see with someone doing accent work, is when you get to those ranges, it kind of starts to fade. Not with Austin. He's great. He's incredible. I think this movie is too long, and I know Baz directed it, and I know Baz likes to indulge, and I get it. I still think it's too long. It's like clocks in at like 2:42 or 2:44. I don't know what you would cut, but I mean, make it like 2:10, and you've got a banger, an absolute heater on your hands. I liked it. I didn't love it, and I actually think that my enjoyment level was a little bit based on my theater experience as well. I think this is definitely a big screen, big sound system type of a movie. When I watched it at home, sitting on the couch, I wasn't as like enamored. And I remember leaving the theater being like, that shit was incredible. That was unbelievable. I've never seen a movie done quite like that. But I think there's a lot of good things for sure. And it was a tall task, and I think that Baz Luhrmann did it. Let's talk about Tom Hanks. Very pivotal in this movie, told through his lens, told through his point of view. And oddly enough, it's about Elvis, but it's not really about Elvis. It's about Colonel Tom Parker and how he signed Elvis and then tried to have a snow day every day for the rest of his life. He is the snowman. I didn't like his performance. Let's just say that. We'll come back. We'll come back and we'll come back to me. But yeah, I'm curious. Bethanne, we'll start with you. Tom Hanks in this movie, pro or not pro?
I'm just neutral about it. Honestly, I think
Interesting.
I think because you see it, I think because you see Tom Hanks do so many different roles that it's hard to like gauge like, oh, I absolutely hate this or I absolutely love this, because he's given us so many different characters. So, I mean, he's just one of the best character actors that we have today working. And so I'm very neutral about his performance. It's like, it's there. It's almost like he's a straight man. He's a constant moving piece of it. So from a storytelling element, sure, it makes sense. But I almost think you kind of need that neutral aspect because of how hard Austin Butler was going to go. I think if you had like Tom Hanks maybe a little bit more angry, a little bit more abrasive, it would have clashed honestly a little bit with Austin Butler and his moment, because this is an Austin Butler movie. The man came in and said, "This is my show and I'm running it," and you needed it. You absolutely needed it. So I think I'm neutral on it, but I think it needed to be neutral, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Leah, what did you think about Tom Hanks? You said you didn't like it. I heard that. You can't take it back now.
The thing
On
that
record.
kills it is the freaking nose prosthetic.
Yeah.
Something about
That's
it
fair.
is so wrong because I don't know. It messes with
There's a little
Tom Hanks' face.
penguin-esque.
It's too
penguin-esque
pointy.
nose
I'm looking. I
happening.
literally just looked at like a picture of actual Tom Parker, and it's not that pointy. So I don't know why it's that pointy.
know,
but
man.
something about every time his face is on the screen, it makes me just want to like avoid eye contact with where he is because it's so bothersome.
Mhm.
And it's the first role that I've ever like hated Tom Hanks's character,
Mm.
and it makes me uncomfortable personally. But I mean, that was the goal, so he did a good job. But
yeah.
I hated him, not his performance, just his character.
Yeah, I
Give me
think
the
his-
ick.
I think his character is just weird. Ben, what did you think?
I mean, I echo everything they're saying here. Like I don't know that Tom Hanks gives a bad performance, really in anything. And this is someone who's seen Larry Crown, like he's decent in everything that he does. But it's just, I don't think he's the person for that role,
Yeah.
and I don't know what you gained out of that because anyone who's there to see Austin Butler or Elvis isn't like the Tom Hanks crowd, like this isn't Captain Phillips or whatever, where you need his name to sell it. Like we can just do Elvis, kind of a no-name ish kind of thing. Like Rami Malek, and I forget his name that did Rocket Man. But they weren't necessarily like home names, Taron Egerton. Yeah. So I think you could have done that with Austin Butler and just given us someone else as Colonel Tom Parker because he was the most distracting part of the movie. So not necessarily a bad performance, but it's just like, oh, that's Tom Hanks in a prosthetic doing a voice every time he's on screen. Like you can't get away from that, unfortunately.
The voice is so distracting. The voice is so and like I don't know what his choice was. Like I don't know why he woke up and was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do something crazy. And it very well could be like that energy that Baz like radiates on set is just like encourages those type of creative decisions. And I think a lot of times they work and this one, it didn't work for me. I think it is literally like Baz Luhrmann shooting into your veins the first 3 minutes of this movie because it's like spin transitions and we've got like casino overlays and like things are
He's
fading
dying.
out. He's dying. And it's like, it's so much to handle right away. And you're really thrown into it. And again, like, I don't think that tonally works well to be like, this is a movie about Elvis. And it's like, I thought I was here for Elvis kind of a thing. But okay, I'm glad we all agree on that. I'm glad nobody's like, yeah, Tom Hanks should win Best Supporting. Like, I'm glad we're all good.
Can I bring up an interesting point?
Yeah, of
We
course.
appreciate that Harry Styles was not cast as Elvis.
Oh yeah.
Big win for Hollywood. Big win for the
As
culture,
much as I
honestly.
love Harry, that would have been an entirely
He had
different
a
movie.
Marvel role. It was
Oh.
fine.
Was he in the running?
Yeah, he was one of the front runners at one point.
Who else is
No.
up for this role? I don't remember who else was.
It was Miles Teller. So
Oh,
I think the story
Oh, but
is
he was
announced-
filming Maverick,
True.
right? So he couldn't do.
Yes. So
Yeah.
no, Austin Butler auditioned for Miles Teller's role.
Oh yeah,
And
they
Miles
Teller
swapped. I
introduced-
remember
Yeah,
that.
and they swapped.
nice.
Wow, I'm
Which
glad
worked
that
out
got
as a
straightened out
cover.
because that would have been two
Yeah.
great movies down the pipe if
That
that would
worked
not
out
have
how it
worked
was
out.
supposed
Yeah.
to, for sure.
Yeah.
That's
I
fate
I think
right
it was
there.
just those three that are the only
The
names I
front
can really
runners, yeah.
find.
Wow. Well, you know what? Harry Styles went in and did "Don't Worry, Darling," and we all know how that panned out. So tough beat for Harry
I
Styles.
forgot
Glad-
that came out. Literally,
It's worth
there
a
you go.
watch,
Sums it up.
okay?
back. Put that
It is-
over here.
It is worth a watch. And
I think
that's
that's fair. I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's worth a watch, and then it's worth forgetting about instantly after
it
that.
was worth watching it in a theater with a bunch of Harry fans who did not understand that style of writing at all.
Oh,
I-
yeah.
Best moment.
I still hold fast on the reason that I like "Don't Worry, Darling," and it's honestly the reason that it bombed at the box office, and it's the reason I went to go see it, and it's the reason that the trailer is better than the movie. It's because Harry Styles and Florence Pugh fuck, and like that's what we all wanted to see, and that
It did.
didn't happen
True.
more than the trailer. So bummer. We all lose in that
Thanks,
situation.
Olivia Wilde.
Thanks a lot, Olivia Wilde. Okay, let's do some truths and moments here. Generally on our 824 pod, we go through a list, and that's how we talk about the movie. We're just going to pick our own here and choose one moment, one scene, something that you like, was your favorite, that you connected to, that you really enjoyed about Elvis. I give a couple examples here for listeners and to kind of jog our memory. First time playing on stage in the pink suit, I think is worth noting. That's kind of like the first time we see Elvis take the stage and play. We get a good old Baz montage, Elvis buying a house. We get tons more throughout the movie. Bedroom scene with Priscilla, I think is worth noting. That's a pretty pivotal life moment for Elvis. Performing his protest song and his Christmas special, which takes up, like, I don't know, 90, 100 hours of this movie, it feels like. We're doing our Christmas special for like 2 days. And then firing the Colonel in Vegas. I kind of mentioned that. Those are some of the heavy hitters. Let's start with Ben. I want to start with Ben see what you've got up your sleeve today, Ben. What is your true cinema moment for Elvis? Because I feel like this will reveal a lot about our personalities, honestly. I feel like it'll tell a lot about you.
I mean, it's hands down If I Can Dream. It's him performing that song, like everything about it. You're right. Like we lead up with the Christmas special for quite a while of them kind of fleecing Tom Parker about like, oh yeah, we'll definitely get to the singer, whatever, because he's hired these other managers or, whatever. So there's a lot of run around here, and then how it's actually pulled off where it's like, let's have the people on set so Tom Parker doesn't realize what's happening. And then like we watch as the camera turns around and focuses on Elvis with like his name in red behind him. And like, it floors me every time. Like it is such a good, I've rewatched that clip so many times. I've watched like the side to side comparison. Like, I just think it's such a powerful scene. It's so good. Knowing how much like Elvis like loved Martin Luther King and all that kind of stuff. Like it speaks so much to who he was and what he cared about. And it's a seminal moment, I think, in this movie. So I love it so much. If I had to pick one scene, that would be it. I love it.
That's a good pick. Can't argue that. I can't argue that. Like I said, I think this movie is, to me, and this is what I wrote in my Letterboxd review. I actually downgraded. I had it at a 4.5 stars, and I took it down to a 4 after I rewatched it and regraded it. And to me, this is a movie of YouTube clips, at least personally, where I'm like, that's a cool scene. I'll watch that for 7 minutes. Or like, oh yeah, I really liked this montage from Baz. I'll watch 2.5 minutes of that one day when I think about it, but I won't invest the 2 hours and 40 minutes to like live this experience again. But I will watch certain moments, and I think that could probably play very well in terms of the Oscars and the Academy Awards. If you have a movie with a lot of pivotal Elvis scenes, I think that is a huge plus for that movie and the campaign that'll get behind that. Leah, what is your true cinema moment?
I tried to pick one that wasn't on your list.
Yeah.
Pulling a Ben. Gosh.
It is the scene during the first Vegas performance when Tom Parker is negotiating with the people he owes money, while Elvis in the background is just repeating, caught in a trap.
I love that. I love that.
Like,
yeah.
It just both times I watched, I've just been like, that is clever. I see what you did there.
It's so good.
It's so good.
And honestly, like the build up to that, like I probably should have like passed on going first. I had so many, but his build up when he has the band, and he does it one at a time, like, hey, give me this, and he's doing his little thing, and like, yeah, exactly. And then like go to the drums, and we just get this slow build up to like the actual show. It's like, fuck, man, that was so well done. I love that.
Yeah, that's a great call. Bethanne, what do you got? You going list or no list? That's my question.
No, honestly, it's that scene for me. It was something about the intensity that Austin Butler threw into that. And then it went immediately into the Vegas portion of it with the same intensity, the same strength to it. I just think there's just something really cool about like the idea of Elvis directing a band. You don't really think of it like as you just think of Elvis as this like character that comes up and sings. No, the dude like was pulling things together and helping form the music, So I don't know. That scene really spoke to me. Maybe it's just because I'm a musician, but just pulling all those pieces together, really cool.
Yeah, I love that. So interesting little story. Molly and I went on a cruise last week. And just a little 3-day cruise, which was really, really fun. And we had a TV in our room, and one of the channels that they had was TCM, and it was always hit or miss. You never know. So we were getting ready for dinner one night, and I was obviously ready, and Molly was still getting ready, and I turned on TCM, and lo and behold, they were playing an Elvis performance in Vegas. And I was like, this is sick. Like, I've never seen this before. What I watched on that cruise ship for like 15 minutes was exactly this scene. And it's not like exact, moment for moment, but it is absolutely ripped from that Vegas performance. I don't know what it's called. I don't know where to find it. I don't know how to do that, but it exists. It's real. I saw it. Unless the cruise was playing me something, that was made up.
They played you a deep fake.
Yeah, exactly.
It was probably from the movie, and they just like put Elvis's face over it, right? And like did a filter over the video. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's a great scene. I think for me, I'm gonna go with the kind of the final scene, quote unquote, where Elvis gets drunk and starts to really just fall off of his rocker, and that last performance we get where he fires the Colonel. And the drapes go down, and he's still screaming into the microphone and firing him. And then we get a lot of stuff in the middle, but then we get a really powerful kind of final execution of what Elvis is known for, what he is so good at, and singing at the piano, having somebody hold the microphone for him. Absolute heartbreak to see what he devolved into, and like that was his real life because of this asshole manager that was just like the wrong guy for that time. And this is my one big thing and one big critique of the movie is that I wish when we got that cut from Austin Butler singing to Elvis singing, which was immaculate, just like mind-blowing good, incredible editing from Baz. I wish that we got that and we just cut and that was it. And like to me that would have been so powerful and so huge to say, this is what it was. This was the real life. This was the real Elvis. Instead, Baz doing what he does best and being very self-indulgent adds another 2 minutes to the movie about Colonel Tom Parker dying and getting his final wishes and like whatever it may be. And I think that really zaps that energy out of that final 2 minutes. But again, that's a very nitpicky moment. But I think there's a lot of merit to this movie. I think it's a really, really fun time. We're going to do our favorite blank winner from the Oscars. So we go through whatever movie we're doing. We try to find a category from the Academy Awards throughout history that seems fitting for the topic that we're covering and just, kind of pick our favorites throughout history and what is most intriguing to us. This episode, we are going to be doing Best Actor because Austin Butler is running a hell of a campaign, and he is one of the three against Colin Farrell and Brendan Fraser, which, let's be honest, all exceptionally different performances, which I think is so intriguing about this race. And we're going to see what the Academy latches onto. I'm really curious about that. But we're going to go with Best Actor. So, Leah, we'll start with you. Any good Best Actor Academy Awards throughout the years that you like, that stood out to you, that are interesting to you, and that you hope Austin Butler will join the ranks of?
I had to stay on brand and put Rami Malek, Bohemian Rhapsody.
On brand. You love it. Love to see it.
So good.
Because he didn't quite get possessed by Freddie Mercury the way that Austin got possessed by Elvis, but it was a fun movie. He did a great job. And then I wrote down Colin Firth in The King's Speech because that was the first time I watched the Oscars and had ever actually seen a movie that won. I was 17.
Nice.
I thought it was cool. But that movie's still one of my favorites.
That's a good one. I haven't watched that in a while.
Eddie Redmayne in Theory of Everything, because that was the second or third year I watched them all, and I called it. My friend and I watched that one first, and I was like, he's gonna win Best Actor. And she's like, no. And 60 days later, I was like, I told you.
Wow. So you're 1 for 1. So now you said that with Austin Butler. So I expect the prophecy to ring true.
Well, it's so interesting too, because the three you just mentioned are people playing real people.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
That's the difference between Austin Butler versus Colin Farrell and Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
And the Academy fucking loves a biopic.
God, the Academy.
So as much as Brendan's the front
biopics,
runner,
dude.
I think they love a biopic. It's I think he's really got a chance. I don't think he's in third by any means.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, we'll see what the Academy does. Bethanne, what do you got on your list today?
So on my list, I have Daniel Day-Lewis, Mr. Sir Daniel Day-Lewis,
Yeah.
and There Will Be Blood. You can throw them in
Mhm.
Lincoln, throw them in Phantom Thread, whichever.
Phantom
But for
Thread.
me, it's There Will Be Blood. It's
Yeah.
just one of the most sensational acting moments of all time.
How much
The
would
whole-
you hate me if I said I've never seen There Will Be Blood?
Dude,
What?
let me tell
I
you.
just blew
Hold
Ben's
on.
mind.
listen.
Shut
I
down the
agreed
pod.
to do
Shut
this
it down.
podcast with you, and you haven't seen There Will Be Blood.
You
Oh,
just
wow.
need to get. Well, you need to get to the
Dude.
ending. You need to get to this confessional scene.
Yeah. Oh, I was just
I
about
know.
to say it
I know
too.
something about a milkshake. That's what I know,
It-
and I'm probably
That's
coming
what-
off
yeah.
as like a movie idiot right now. People are like, "God, fuck this guy," but
No,
you
no,
know
you're
what are you
good.
gonna do?
No, you'll love
Yeah.
it. You'll love it. That's a great pick.
Paul Dano's
Yeah.
in that, right? I'm a big Paul Dano stan.
Yeah, Paul
Yeah.
Dano's in it. Yeah. And Joaquin Phoenix, it's the Joker, because I really enjoyed the Joker, but I love Joaquin Phoenix.
Big
man.
applause.
The man knows, he's a strange bird, but he knows what he's doing. Philip Seymour Hoffman as Capote,
Hmm
'cause I thought that was eerie.
Mhm.
His performance was very eerie.
Mhm.
Not a Best Actor winner, but one I will contest a little bit against Leah's liking. Michael Keaton should have won for Birdman. I'm a
Mhm.
huge
Ooh.
Birdman fan.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think Michael Keaton just mopped it up, and it was very tragic to watch him put his acceptance speech back in his pocket when the cameras
Who won that?
been on him. It was
Oh,
Eddie
sad.
for Theory
Ah.
of Everything.
Oh.
But can't throw him in. That would be cheating, but that's where my heart lays. So I like a lot of intensity performances, if you don't
Yeah.
notice. Like
Yeah.
someone who like says, I'm throwing myself into this, which I think Austin Butler definitely falls in that category.
Yeah, respect.
100%.
Ben, you're going with Joaquin for Joker, right? Like that's the
Oh my
one,
God.
and you're good, and you're done. You don't need to talk about it.
You already told me you haven't watched There Will Be Blood. If you want me to quit right now, I will rage quit this pod.
What Rob Pattinson's
Just flip.
chances?
Yeah, what are we?
nominated.
How are we not talking Rob Pattinson in Best Actor
Why
right
are
now?
we talking this up?
Why are we talking about horrible movies? I don't understand what happened here. Like we really went off the rails. I'm gonna get us back to some good movies. Clark Gable in It Happened One Night from 1934.
That's
Super
great.
good movie. Maybe like one of the best like original rom-coms. Like it's a beautiful movie. You haven't seen it, check it out. Gene Hackman in The French Connection. I know that movie always gets talked about for like the car race scene. I will say that Bullet has a better car race scene, but Gene Hackman is awesome in The French Connection. Another one I want to point out is Henry Fonda in On Golden Pond, which he starred in with his daughter. But I just thought it was funny because he won Best Lead Actor the year after the Academy gave him like an honorary award. It's like, sorry, we never gave you anything, so we'll just honor you now in 1980. And then he came back the next year. He's like, fuck you, I'm winning Best Lead Actor. And he won. I was like, damn, that was awesome. Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs, mainly because it's 16 minutes of screen time. The dude won Best Lead
That's
Actor for
crazy.
16 minutes of screen time. But it makes sense though. Like that's one of the most notorious performances, villains, whatever of all time. And then the one I hate the most is Al Pacino winning Scent of a Woman in 92 because
Wow.
if Denzel Washington can't win for Malcolm X, like what would he ever win for? Like that's one of the best performances ever captured on film. Like Denzel just in his fucking bag, just doing everything. And then Al Pacino is just like hoo-ah his way to a fucking Best Lead Actor win. So I hate that shit so much. I wish Denzel had won.
Yeah, the Academy and their makeup awards. The Academy really likes to come back late and be like,
It's
"Hey,
true.
sorry, we gypped
Like
you."
Leo,
and,
right? Yeah.
Like,
In hindsight, yeah.
like Leo, yeah, like lots of people. I've got, of course, Marlon Brando on my list. I am wearing a Godfather shirt, so I didn't plan that, but that worked out pretty good.
Nice.
Pretty iconic. I've got De Niro for Raging Bull. I believe that's De Niro's only Oscar. Am I correct in remembering that correctly?
Sounds right.
With Scorsese,
He
which
didn't
is
win for Taxi?
which is brutal. No, I don't believe so. 1980, and so we're talking about 43 years ago. This guy wins his only Academy Award, which is pretty wild. Raging Bull absolutely rips, though. What a great movie. Rami Malek, I wanted to put on the list because it is very much an Austin Butler situation here. The Academy loves biopics. The Academy loves people who portray musicians. That is just like what they love. So Austin Butler, again, has that going for him where we don't see that happening with Colin Farrell or Brendan Fraser. And then I did put Joaquin Phoenix for Joker on here. And I think it's worth, for sake of conversation, Ben, I want to know. So obviously you would not have picked Joaquin Phoenix. For listeners that don't know, Ben just can't do the Joker for some reason. I will tell you real quick though, Molly has not seen the Joker. I played her the final scene, like the final 6 minutes or whatever of the Joker on the talk show when the big moment occurs. She watched that, and then I showed her the very ending where he's in the hospital and kind of skips down the hallway. The scene that Ben absolutely abhors. And literally the first thing she said to me is, "Oh, cool. So I've seen this whole movie now, right?" And I was just like, "God fucking damn it,
Thank
Molly.
you, Molly.
Lost.
Yes.
Damn it. That was
You've
the wrong
seen more
answer."
than you ever need to see.
So, Ben, you took a big point on that one. Joaquin Phoenix wins for the Joker for 2019. You have Antonio Banderas, Leonardo DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Adam Driver for Marriage Story, and then Jonathan Pryce for The Two Popes. Ben, you're picking Adam Driver, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm voting, I'm going for Adam Driver.
Yeah.
I will say, and I've said this before when I talk about Joker, I hate that movie, but the score and Joaquin's performance are really good. He gives a good performance. It just happens to be with a dog shit script and movie and director and everything else, but he's doing a great job.
Just wait until it's a musical with Lady Gaga.
Yeah, so like
I'm
hype
honestly
levels
more
for
excited about
hype levels
that.
for
Coming
2.
for
We're feeling good.
Golden Globes awards for musical comedy. Joker 2.
I'm
fully a do.
more
Let's go.
Looking forward to that now that I know Lady Gaga's there. So, yeah. Also,
win.
I looked it up. De Niro
played
won supporting actor for Godfather 2.
Godfather 2. Yeah, but he did not win another lead, and I
he did not
believe
win
it's the
another
only
lead.
Okay, yeah, dang, crazy stuff. So lots of good best actors out there. Lots of actors that have honestly been snubbed and given makeup awards over the years, which is really interesting to see. We'll see what the Academy does with Austin Butler. Guys, any other thoughts on Elvis? Anything to wrap us out here? Anything you didn't get to say? I did want to say one thing. Vegas, song by Doja Cat. We're all on board, right? Like that song fucks or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say Leah recommended the Vegas Toxic mashup, and I like that one a lot more. We did literally listen to that as we drove out. I was a man of my word from our group chat, so yeah, loved it.
Good for you.
On the rewatch, I forgot just how much I loved that first scene in the pink suit when all the girls like start reacting like against like they're not doing it on purpose. It's like an instinctual, like, oh my God, why am I making these noises? You know, that scene played like I liked it the first time, but it played so fucking well. Again, like this is hilarious the way that he's doing this, and it's so good.
So here's my hot take.
Whoa,
my audio cut out.
You're gonna end with a hot take? That's bold.
Yes, I do. I do want to end on a hot take.
Nice.
This is the one thing I wanted to say, and then my computer shut down.
It didn't want you to say it.
It was trying to save you from yourself.
This is my only. Well, I have a couple. I think the movie's song. This is my only thing with the movie is I liked that they did a soundtrack where they had modern artists redoing Elvis songs in their own way. Doja Cat's Vegas is a bop. I will have to say.
Big.
I did not like the integration of it in the film because I felt like it took me out of the time period.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that really bothered me. Like I like being immersed in films. I don't like to be present, so to speak. I want to be in that world. So that took me out. So that's my hot take.
I think
Baz
that's
Luhrmann though.
I know it's Baz Luhrmann, but still.
I think it's a valid hot
my
take.
thoughts.
I think it's a valid hot take, honestly. And when I rewatched it, I was like, man, you have such a heater song on your hands, and you just like slip it in at a weird time. It felt like to me, like it wasn't very loud. It was kind of under the veil of like the time
like
period.
What they used to do in the 90s with certain films. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. And I was like,
these little songs in.
I expected Baz to just like hit that needle drop like really hard and be like, this song bangs, and this is gonna lead off a 30-second montage of something really dope in Vegas. And I was like, dang, I feel like we kind of got shortchanged on that. There is supposedly like a 4 or 4.5 hour Baz Luhrmann cut out there.
No doubt.
So
no doubt.
I'm positive he rolled that back into the fold for sure.
That explains why the soundtrack is like 42 songs.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Right? It's insane. Release the Baz cut. That's what
There
we
you
all
go.
stand for, right?
Get that trending.
Yeah, along
That's
those lines, Bethanne, though, I'm with you. Like, I didn't really notice it the first time, but sitting next to two guys in their 60s as I was watching this, it stuck out to me more as like, oh, do they like this? Like, this is kind of weird to be introducing this kind of music into this story. I don't know how much they know Baz. And so I was more thinking about what they were thinking about, but I didn't really notice it the first time I was with you, Leah, which is like, this is bad. This is what he does. But I'm curious how, the older generations took that maybe just wanted an Elvis story. And then suddenly Doja Cat fucking shows up or whatever. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I know it's a bad technique. I know that, but I don't know what it was about Elvis. Like Great Gatsby, I think it makes sense because it's a novel. Like you're gonna throw in there's already some kind of like modern takes on things. But if something about being a period piece about a person, and it just irked me a little bit. Like just that I got taken out. And when I did,
I mean, his songs are fucking spectacular as they are. They don't need to be remade for this, but I get it for sure.
Yeah. Well, my girls, ages 4 and 2, they love this song, and we listen to it in the car all the time, and they sing it. And that's a gateway drug to Elvis. So we're getting close. We're getting close to the good stuff.
Nice.
Really exciting. Bethanne and Leah, thank you so much for coming on the pod. This was incredible chatting with you both about Elvis. I know we've all been looking forward to chatting about this movie for quite some time, so I'm glad that we could all finally get together and do that. Bethanne, if people want to find more of you on socials or out in the world, where can they find you at?
You can find me at Bethanne Tarpley. I interact the most on Instagram and Twitter, more Twitter these days. So feel free to follow, comment stupid shit on my posts because I post stupid shit in return. So, we just post stupid shit. It's a great community that I have. That
Bethanne, also a member of an upcoming 3 Films in a Pod auction draft, and then another draft after that, hopefully. So, Bethanne, queen of shit talking in the draft.
Queen of shit talking. Then when the episode actually starts,
she
a whole other direction.
Crawls back into her cave there. Leah, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Instagram at leahelizabeth.j, on Twitter at Leah_ElizabethJ, because they suck. And you can find our show at shioraku.com.
Nice.
Hell yeah. I've been on your pod. I think Ben's been on your pod before.
Mm-hmm.
It's a blast. It's a great time. Definitely go check out the podcast, She Will Rock You Pod. I think I came on for something that was really incredible and forced me to listen to a lot of music that I didn't normally listen to, and it was awesome. It was a great time. So go check out the pod. Great episode.
Yeah, those are super fun. Yeah, go check them out. It's a blast to be on your pod. Whenever an Incubus song ends up in the top 500, if it ever does, let me know. I'll come back and talk about it. I don't know if they are, but I'll try to
number 498.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're 501. I think it's right outside, actually. Like if they just extended it, they would be there. But thanks you guys for coming on. It was cool to talk about Elvis. We want to know what everyone else thinks about Elvis. Is it going to win Best Picture? Is Austin Butler going to take Best Actor? Let us know. We are on Twitter and Instagram at 24 minutes of A24. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube, where you can see our faces and whatever shirt I'm wearing that week. Maybe 1 week it won't be a shirt. Who knows? We gotta keep mix it up here.
You gotta save that for the Patreon, Ben.
Yeah, that'll be for our Magic Mike episode.
Pay the money,
dude.
Exactly. I just watched Magic Mike for the first time 3 nights ago. That's so crazy that you would say that.
That's here we are.
Incredible.
Patreon Magic Mike. Anyways, go subscribe. Thanks everyone for your support. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I am Ethan Simi. And as the legendary and immortal Tom Cruise says, see you at the movie.